I used to believe that getting rich had to take decades of hard work and sacrifice. That's what I was told growing up. But I found out that wasn't true. I went from broke at 25 to financially independent just a few years later. Not because of luck, but because I made a decision to do things differently. I discovered principles that most people never learn, and once I applied them, everything. While others chased bigger paychecks and fancier titles, I focused on building real wealth. I didn't need more hours, I needed better strategies. What I learned wasn't taught in school. It came from mentors, books, failure, and observation. I didn't follow the crowd. I studied what worked, I simplified it, and I acted on it with these 8 money secrets gave me the foundation to build something solid. I'm not sharing theory, I'm sharing what I lived. These ideas are simple, but they go against what most people believe about money. That's why they work, because they're rooted in timeless principles, not in hype or trends. They help me stop living paycheck to paycheck and start building some. I didn't wait for the perfect conditions. I created them with discipline, vision, and consistent action. These secrets changed my life, and they can change yours too. Now I'm going to reveal the 8 money secrets that help me get rich faster than anyone expected. First secret, make money work for you. When I was young, I learned something that changed everything. Either I'd master money or money would master me. Most people spend their entire lives working hard, day in and day out, but never stop to realize that they're trapped in a cycle where money is the boss. It's a brutal truth, but a necessary one. If we don't take control early on, we spend decades running on a treadmill that never stops. And let me tell you, financial freedom isn't about luck, it's about strategy. Now here's the deal. I've met brilliant people, folks with degrees and talent, who still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because no one taught them the difference between making a living and building a life. That's the gap right there. They keep working for money, but they've never built a system where money works for them. If that sounds familiar, don't feel bad. Most schools don't teach this. But I'm here to tell you, it's never too late to flip the script. You've got to start thinking like a strategist. Take the same energy you use to earn a paycheck and channel it into something that builds momentum over time. I don't care if you're 25 or 55. When you decide to become the architect of your financial future, the game changes. Maybe that means starting a side business, investing in dividend-paying stocks, or learning a high-income skill like copywriting or coding. The point is, put your money to work even if it starts small. Because here's the truth, retirement shouldn't be a finish line. It should be a choice. You don't want to reach 65 and realize you've spent 40 years surviving, not living. That's why this mindset matters. The earlier you adopt it, the faster your money starts building its own momentum. And once you shift that mindset, the next step becomes obvious. But we'll get there. Second secret, learn to manage your money. I used to believe that the more I earned, the richer I'd be. That idea sounded great until I met people earning 6 figures who were always broke. It shocked me. What my mentor Earl Schoaf told me stuck forever. It's not about how much you make, but what you do with what you make. Wealth is built on behavior, not just income. Without control, even a raise becomes just another excuse to spend more. Schoaf gave me a challenge, to save a dime out of every dollar, no matter what, 10 cents. That principle changed my relationship with money. I started seeing my paycheck not as freedom, but as a tool to earn real freedom. It was like flipping a switch in my mind. The discipline of saving gave me peace of mind, even when my income wasn't huge. Saving became a form of self-respect. Over time, those small habits turned into financial leverage. I stopped being impressed by flashy incomes and started paying attention to quiet accumulators. The ones who knew where their money went and why. That's where the real power is. It's easy to brag about what you earn, but true strength shows in what you keep and grow. That's the part nobody teaches, but everybody needs to learn. This isn't about becoming miserly. It's about making money serve your future, not your impulse. I kept a small notebook in my pocket back then, tracking every dollar. Not because I was cheap, but because I was serious. That seriousness led me to the next vital principle, one that forces you to live smarter, not harder. Third, live on 70% of your income. When I finally got serious about building wealth, I made a rule. Live on 70% of everything I earn. That wasn't a random number, it was a foundation. That 70% covered my life. The rest, that was my future. I split the remaining 30% in three parts: 10% for giving, 10% for investing, and 10% for personal development. That one decision brought clarity to my finances and gave every dollar a mission. I wasn't making a fortune at the time, but I started with what I had: cutting small expenses, cooking more meals at home, canceling subscriptions I never used. Each choice was a message to my future self that I was ready to take control. The 10% I invested started small too. Low-cost index funds and shares of companies I understood, like Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Nothing fancy, just consistent. And then came the fun part: personal development. I took that 10% and turned it into books, seminars, and mentorships. I read Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, and everything I could get my hands on. That's where my mindset shifted from just surviving to leading. The money I used to waste on things I didn't need was now buying me insight and long-term vision. That trade-off changed everything. This method built not just my bank account, but my discipline. It made me more intentional, more aware. I didn't feel restricted, I felt empowered. And once I had that structure in place, something else clicked. I needed to make saving not just intentional, but automatic. And that next step sealed the deal. Fourth secret: learn to save money. There came a point when I realized that relying on willpower to save money was like trying to diet with a cake on the table. I needed to take emotions out of the equation. That's when I made a simple but powerful shift. I automated everything. The moment my paycheck landed, a portion moved straight into savings and investments. No thinking, no debating, no excuses. It became a system I could trust. That automation created momentum. It was like putting my money on autopilot toward a better future. I used tools that transferred funds to my investment accounts before I ever saw them in my checking account. Apps like Acorns and bank rules that split deposits made it effortless. Over time, those small, consistent transfers began to grow roots. The compound effect started working silently, day after day. There's a sense of calm that comes when you know your savings are handled before you even spend a dime. It's like hiring a financial bodyguard that never sleeps. And the best part? It freed up my mental energy. I wasn't constantly checking balances or wondering if I saved enough. I just lived my life, knowing that behind the scenes, my system was doing the heavy lifting. That's the secret most people miss. They wait until the end of the month to save, when nothing's left. I flipped it. I paid my future first. Once that habit became part of my life, I realized something deeper. Knowledge wasn't just helpful, it was necessary. And that led me to the next key principle: mastering the language of money itself. Fifth secret: study about financial education. There was a moment when I finally accepted that if I wanted to get rich, I had to treat financial education like a matter of survival. Because it is. The truth is, most people know more about celebrities than they do about their credit score. That's not just a mistake, it's dangerous. I made a personal vow. I would study money the way a doctor studies medicine. I wanted to master the rules, not be ruled by them. So I read everything. I studied compound interest like it was a magic spell. And in a way it is. I broke down budgets, studied debt cycles, and learned how credit really works. I didn't just want to make money, I wanted to keep it, multiply it, and pass it on. Books like The Millionaire Next Door and Rich Dad, Poor Dad became part of my toolbox. Knowledge started opening doors that effort alone never could. What shocked me was how simple it all became once I knew the terms. APR, amortization, asset classes. They stopped sounding scary and started feeling like tools. That gave me confidence. Confidence to negotiate, to invest, to plan ahead. I stopped being afraid of financial conversations and started leading them. And let me tell you, confidence with money changes how you walk into a room. The more I learned, the more I wanted to apply. Every page I read translated into smarter choices and fewer regrets. That curiosity didn't just grow my bank account. It sharpened my awareness. And as I kept absorbing more, I realized something critical. It wasn't enough to learn. I needed to put that knowledge into a real, living plan. That's where the next principle comes in. Sixth, Make financial planning. I used to wonder why my money disappeared so fast. Then I realized I was spending without a plan, like trying to win a game without knowing the rules. Once I started creating a monthly roadmap, everything changed. I didn't need some fancy app or spreadsheet, just a notebook, a pen, and a decision. Every dollar would have a purpose before it left my hands. That simple act brought structure to the chaos. Even with a variable income, the system worked. I'd write down what came in, list the essentials, and then assign the rest to goals. Savings, investing, fun. It wasn't rigid, it was freeing. Suddenly, the guilt of spending faded because it was all accounted for. It wasn't about being strict, it was about being smart. Planning gave me power. It turned my income into a tool instead of a trickle. I treated my money like a business treats its cash flow. I stopped acting surprised at the end of the month because nothing was random anymore. And I wasn't perfect. Some months were messy. But over time, the habit stuck. I knew where I stood, what I could afford, and how to pivot when things changed. That stability, even when things were tight, kept me moving forward. This level of control isn't just for the rich. It's how people become rich. It's not glamorous, but it works. And once you're no longer reacting to money, you start directing it. That's when things get interesting. Because if money is going to flow, why not make it flow toward things that grow? Seventh secret, learn to create assets. There's a difference between saving money and building wealth. Savings are like a safety net, but assets, they're engines. I learned early on that keeping money in a drawer won't make you rich. What grows your wealth is what works while you sleep. Real freedom starts when your money stops, depending on your time. That's why I shifted my focus from stacking cash to creating assets that generate value. Assets can look different for everyone. For me, it started with buying books and learning skills that the market rewarded: public speaking, sales, leadership. Later, it became real estate and small investments in business ventures. But even before that, I treated my knowledge like an asset. I'd package ideas into seminars, programs, and tapes. Those things paid me long after I recorded them. That's the power of creating instead of consuming. You don't need millions to start. A skill you teach online, a course you build, or a rental room in your home can become the first brick in your financial foundation. Think about what you already know that others would pay to learn. Maybe it's graphic design, bookkeeping, or woodworking. Turn your knowledge into value. That's how you shift from earning a living to building a legacy. When you build assets, you start buying back your time. And with time comes clarity, opportunity, and a deeper sense of purpose. The beauty of assets is they don't just support you, they can outlive you. But to know what's truly working in your favor, you've got to keep track of every step. And that brings us to the next key habit most people skip. Eighth secret, write down all your expenses. The biggest financial wake-up call I ever had came from a simple question my mentor asked. Where did your last $1,000 go? I had no clue. That moment hit me like a ton of bricks. From then on, I tracked every single dollar. I didn't rely on memory or assumptions. I wrote it down. Pen and paper became my accountability partners. Tracking transformed vague guesses into hard truths. I started noticing patterns. I wasn't losing money to big purchases. I was bleeding from little ones. Coffee here, a subscription there, impulse buys at the checkout. It all added up. Once I had the full picture, I felt more in control. Not guilty, just aware. Awareness is power, because when you know where your money's going, you can redirect it with precision and confidence. I treated it like a game. Each week, I'd review my notes and look for leaks. I'd challenged myself to beat last week's waste. I wasn't obsessed, I was focused. That habit built momentum. Soon I started using apps to categorize expenses, but it started with a notebook and a commitment. It wasn't about being cheap, it was about being smart. Every dollar had a job, and I was the boss. That level of clarity did more than clean up my budget, it gave me vision. I could see how far I'd come, where I was headed, and what needed to change. And when you track consistently, something deeper awakens. You stop living for the now and start thinking long-term. That's when legacy enters the picture. You've just learned the same money secrets that helped me go from broke to financially free. But knowing isn't enough. The real shift happens when you take this knowledge and apply it, day by day, habit by habit. These principles aren't for someday, they're for now. Every moment you wait is a moment your money could be working for you. The sooner you act, the sooner you break free from the cycle that holds most PU. If this message hit home, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is all about giving you real tools to create real wealth. And in the next videos, I'll keep sharing what I've learned from years of trial, error, and breakthrough. Stick with me, and let's keep building your freedom step by step.